Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Never Mind the Buy Box. Hopefully you can see and hear us okay. Classic Ruth and Jamie, always first in the house, always on YouTube, watching and streaming there. Just wait for a few people to jump on. Joined this evening by my lovely friend, Luke Dugan. Hi, Luke. How are you?
I didn't realize. I'm joking.
I thought we were friends.
Of course we're friends.
Right, I'm just going to wait for the video to kick in. Yeah, well, I know we're live. Can everyone see and hear us okay? Just let us know if you can. So, remarkable. Oh, yes, we will talk about that tonight.
I thought you that is. It's a Christos.
Oh, no. I've said it out loud. I think it's Christos that's asked, actually. So I've just got my comments up as well. Jamie says we're all good. I think comments are a little bit delayed. Hi, Fran. Please give us some likes and love. Send out the notifications to everyone. Let them know that we're here and we're live. But just before we get into the really important stuff, I have got a really important question to ask everyone, and I need you to let me know in the comments, and that is, how many pancakes have you eaten today?
Well, I've had none.
Yeah, I knew that you were going to say
it's actually like an Independence Day here in Lithuania. They have two. Yeah. One today, one's to do with Russia, and one's to do with, and I can't remember this, like something else. But it's like a national holiday here anyway.
Like Yugoslavia. Probably.
No, it wasn't Yugoslavia. Because I was looking at this game that I was playing, and you get to like choose world wars, and you get to see it's one of those like battle games where you have a country. Oh, yeah. And I just literally saw Yugoslavia, but that's on the coast. That was on the coast, you see.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. No. I didn't know. I think it was President's Day in America yesterday. So there's lots of holidays and things like that, which actually, do you know what? We're going to talk about a little bit of seasonal selling tonight. And I know that might sound a little bit unusual when we're in February to talk about seasonal selling. But the thing about seasonal selling is you can sell all year round, but just in different seasons. So I want to talk about that a little bit tonight, because I know that that's something we take a big advantage of. We're not just Q4 seasonal sellers. We sell very seasonally in a lot of different areas, and especially with the type of bundling that we do. So I want to talk through that yesterday. Let's just have a quick look. John says he's not allowed any pancakes. Oh, that's a shame. Lorraine says they had loads of pancakes at the weekend. Hi, Lorraine. Fahana says 2 yesterday, if that counts. Tim says 0. Sue says 0. Crystal says have 4. 2 savory and 2 sweet. Sean's had none. Charlotte's has had 2. Luke's had 12. How is it possible to eat 12 pancakes?
I didn't see that comment. Oh no, yeah. I can see that comment. Yeah, sorry, it was lost. It was lost.
it was lost. It was lost in there. Hayden says evening. He's tuning in from the bath. He's watching us via YouTube.
He's got to burn through his candles.
He's going through his candles and his Radox bath soaks. Definitely. Let's hope there's no. I just saw your Facebook story with your pancakes on there. How did you get your pancakes so perfect, Hayden? I mean, I'm all right at cooking pancakes, but I reckon they were done in a pancake machine or something. You know, you get like a waffle maker or something like that. I saw Hayden's pancakes and they were pretty perfect. So I reckon there's some, something on there. Why is everyone in the bath? Christos is in the bath. I think he might be joking, though. I don't know. I don't know how comfortable I feel with people watching us in the bath. But there we go. We are the bath viewers of choice whenever you're having a good soak in the tub. So, everyone seems to be on now, which is good. But just give us a like and a love. Hayden says, he's got 54 candles left. Luke said that they are a tad Moorish, Nutella and white chocolate honey. Oh, that sounds good. Cindy, I agree that they were either made. Yeah, that was it. They must have been shop bought. Christos isn't joking. He's definitely in the bath. On that point. Right. So it's lovely to have everyone here. Thank you for joining us once again. So before we get started and before we, talk about some general subjects that we want to talk about tonight, I just want to say massive congratulations to our friend Luke, who has achieved a massive milestone in his business over the last week, 10 days, something like that.
What have I done the last week or 10 days?
Oh
within a week, 10 days. No, like yeah, no, it was like I don't even know what day it is these days. What is it?
Yeah, I think it's like second week. I think it's the 16th today. But Luke has achieved that massive milestone in his business where he has become a 7-figure seller, which is absolutely phenomenal.
Within 12 months. Because obviously it's within 12 months. Because you can become
within 12 months, yeah.
Lasting 80 years, dying, just you've done it for 50, 60 years. But yeah, so yeah, 12 months.
Yeah, within 12 months. And I think it's fair to say, I mean, lots of people are saying congratulations, as well as talking about baths and what they're having on their pancakes. But I think it's fair to say this time last year, obviously you're really open about this. You had quite a low January, it was like 8 grand, something like that. And then obviously
it was like 2. So it wasn't like it was I didn't expect it to be anything more than 10, and it was 8. I was like, okay, fine. Because I didn't need it. Like I almost think to myself, that's just break even in Q1. Like this is literally just that break even Q1, Q2, Q3 make some money, a little bit of reinvestment. Q4 I don't know. I used to say make 20, 30 grand and take 10 for myself, or 5 for myself, some for some investments or whatever if I want to do that. And then I've got, in theory, I'm still 20 grand up from Q4. This is not the rest of the year. And then I can pay myself nothing for Q1, just enough to get by, as in like it's there's no like there's not that amount left over plus some of the other months. It's plenty to roll over. A couple of years of that, you've got 90 grand burning away in the business, and you're able to smash. That's when you're really able to like have enough money to really like capitalize on everything, because it is always like, oh, I could have done more. I could have done. There's always that thought, I could have done more. I could have done more. And eventually, some of those areas that you could have done more on aren't so I could have done as. So now for last Q4, I'm like, I could have done more, yeah, but not as extreme as what I felt previous years. So I'm kind of getting to I'm sort of pushing to the barrier now in currently the areas that I'm in. Of course, I can find another million products that are great to sell, and obviously that would then change the things. But based on the products I had, I always thought, what if I just had. And last year it wasn't so bad, but that was just because of many years rolling over, many years of developing all the areas to get there. And eventually, then the ceiling was closer and closer to what I thought was possible with what I had. But yeah, I sort of forgot what we even talked about.
No, just really where you were this time last year. I'll jump on some comments. Please read the comments, Luke, because loads of people are saying congratulations, and I know that everyone knows what a great guy you are, and wishes you true congratulations with your business, because obviously it's a massive milestone and one that I think really does deserve congratulations and everything that you're doing. So let's just go through still lots of staff comments and things like that. Let's have a quick look. So let's go back. So I think Mohammed's asked, and this kind of links in with the both actually as well, which is arbitrage in the USA feasible, and also explain your business model. Well, obviously Luke does online arbitrage predominantly. So
wholesale.
Pardon?
I probably do probably more wholesale now than I do. Well, at least 50-50. I haven't actually counted the amounts or anything, but it's probably 50-50.
But that's been a big change in your business over you've changed a lot in the last 12 months.
It's the same products, but it was just, most of them, like 80%, same product, just from a wholesale. So I still see it as online. Like, I don't really see it as wholesale because you can just go and get it for the same price from a retailer. But I just wanted to be like, I didn't want to muck around every day buying, building a basket every day, and I just buy I think I bought 800 units or something, and that's and then I get a little bit of a discount for the quantity, and then I don't have to worry for 3 to 6 months for the product. It's more like that. That's what I like about it, more than the products are like amazing. You can get amazing deals. It's not so much about even deals. The deals are okay, but they're not. I've never found anything like truly amazing. But yeah, I'm just building up that area now, because there are products that you can't get from, I haven't seen from retailers. So that's an area I want to pursue a little bit more this year. More wholesale exclusives, but I haven't really been doing it to that much of an extent like before now, really.
No, I think you've just taken the natural step. And going back to Mohammed's question, essentially it is arbitrage. I'm completely with you on this, Luke. I feel that it's arbitrage essentially because you're not creating your own products, and the true meaning of arbitrage is you buy low and you sell high. It is arbitrage for a profit. So obviously we break them down. We break all the different models down between online arbitrage, where you purchase from online retailers and you sell those on Amazon for a profit. Retail arbitrage, you physically go into a retail store. And then wholesale, which obviously are under the same kind of business model, I think, of arbitrage, because you're not actually putting anything of your own into it. There's no creative process. There's no branding. There's no designing. You're not manufacturing. You're not creating any of your own products. So, you know, that's where we move more into the unique bundling, private label side of things. But let's go back, and there's been loads of comments. I
can see. I'm like, this is the most.
Everyone's. I'm just going to go through and check just before we go back, because what I want to do is just go back and briefly cover the last year and the things that you've changed and the things that you've done, and really what it's taken to get to build this 7 figures. Because I don't think I'm out of order by saying this time last year, I don't think 7 figures was probably in your head this time last year.
I can't remember what I was doing before. I can't remember what I did the year before. Probably 450, like as a rough number. It's probably less than 500,000 in whatever the year before last was. So I kind of like, basically I doubled, but I think everyone doubled anyway. It wasn't particularly special. But it was more like it was probably have been something like 650 to 700 if it was just like natural percentages, like using the old projections.
Yeah. No, got you. So, Mohammed, we predominantly sell in the UK in this group in particular, but there's no reason why I'm aware that arbitrage is not suitable for the US. I have some exciting news. We have opened this week. We have opened our account in the USA, which is something we had not anticipated doing this early in the year. We were going to be doing it later in the year. So that's some exciting news. And I'll keep everyone on progress and keep everyone up to date with what we are going to be doing in the American market. But we should be ready to rock and roll and start selling our first products in the American market in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, rest assured, I'm going to keep everyone updated on that. It's been quite an easy process so far. Everything seems to have been okay, but like I said, I'll keep everyone updated, and yeah, hopefully going to document the first time we get first sales and things like that, which is going to be good. But yeah, no reason. I speak to a lot of American sellers who sell arbitrage, and I don't see any reason why it's not an issue. We actually have someone coming on Never Mind the Buy Box in probably about 2 or 3 weeks, actually, who does wholesale and arbitrage purely in the USA and is absolutely smashing it, you know, double 6 figures every single month. So that is something to look forward to. And that's something that hopefully you'll enjoy hearing the story about how this seller has managed.
Double 6 figures? Do you mean just 200,000?
Yeah, like 200,000. Yeah, double.
I was just like,
yeah. Well, what else is double 6 figures?
I just thought it was just a bit. I've never really had someone.
Yeah. Double 6 figure. I don't know. I just refer to things like that. I always like multiple 6 figures, double 6 figures. If it was like 700,000, I'd say like 700,000. Yeah, I think double or multiple means like up to like 3 or 4, something like that. I don't know. That's just the way I say it. A couple of people watched your video earlier, Luke, actually, as well. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So if you're interested, Luke's channel is Mr. FBA. And his YouTube channel, and you put up videos, and you've put up a little bit of a different video today talking about how you're going to reinvest your Amazon profits into some longer term investments that you're going to be doing. Yeah,
I mean, it's not like I haven't just like randomly gone, let's chuck money in and I'm picking these. I normally look at, basically all I do is I look at the charts from TradingView. I make sure it's not like a Tesla, which has gone from, I don't know, does it go from like $80 or $100 to like $800? I don't want, not that I don't like Tesla, but yeah, it could go to 1,600 in the next year. But I'm more looking for like, I actually like space tech, like satellite, all that kind of thing, and Boeing, and the ones I kind of invested are slightly more longer term, medium to long term, because they have Lockheed Martin is one I would like to get into, because they have just got that deal with the Shetland Islands or whatever to send small satellites. I don't know, things like that. Just because I like the future of where space is going. But also there's other. I got HSBC. That's nothing to do with space. That's just because I like to look at the charts, and if it's over, if it's all time highs, I probably won't worry about it, because I don't. It's not about basically it's about picking things I like, but then again, not buying it because they're going up and up and up.
Yeah. No. Okay.
I've been in cryptocurrencies for ages, but it's not because. But I was there when it was at 6,000. It's now at $50,000. But I was there buying a little bit here and learning and understanding why and how, all the sort of basically technical analysis behind it as well. And then I'm doing stuff like that. And then also explaining the reason I'm doing it is so that I've got many different, if I have 10 different, not income streams as such, but assets. So some will be income streams as well, but assets that are there. Some of them might be crash in price, but then because there's so many that are different to each other, that I don't need them all to be doing well at the same time. And then if Amazon disappeared for some reason, it doesn't matter, because I've got 10 others that are all doing their own thing. And it's kind of like the longer term plan, And then obviously then you could get property later on, and then you could get investments in businesses, and getting and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's something Christos is watching and commented, and he's very much of that ethos as well. And I think it's fantastic that you're not just concentrating on Amazon, that you are looking at other income streams and protections against Amazon as well, which is pretty good. Abu says Amazon disappearing ? I think you meant probably from a personal point of view, not Amazon.
I mean, just I'm not selling on Amazon.
Yeah, Luke, not selling on Amazon anymore. I just want to quickly answer Sue's question actually about the US account thing, because we were just on that. Is we've done it on the same account. But I think I remember from Seth Baker looking at that when he was on Nevermind the Buy Box a few weeks ago. Was it before Christmas or after Christmas? I can't remember now. But he was suspended in the UK, and he did it on the same account, but opened in the US as well. So that's something to have a look into. But absolutely, I know the rules that even if you are suspended in the UK, then you are able to open a US account and vice versa. So as it stands, those are the rules as far as I'm aware. So technically, yes, you are able to sell, but whether or not you can sell, or whether or not you have to open, what do they call it in a limited company? Is it an LLC in America? Whether or not you have to open an LLC and open a completely different account. We had an American account 2 or 3 years ago, because we were going to start doing PL in America a few years ago, and we didn't do it. And we opened an LLC, and we had a separate Amazon account, but we've decided to do it on the same account this time. So definitely worth looking into. I would just get a little bit of clarification as to whether or not it has to be a completely different account. Might be worth dropping Seth Baker a message just to ask him what he did, or popping it in the Facebook group and then tagging Seth in it, because I know he's a member of the Secret Wealth Facebook group. So it might be worth him. And he's very open about his suspension, so I'm sure he won't mind whatsoever. Okay, so obviously what I wanted to talk about, because Luke's hit, this really big milestone in his business, and not being out of order or anything like that this time last year, probably 7. I know the more you got into the year, as we went into sort of March and April, it was looking more likely you were going to be able to hit 7 figures. But you did make some big changes in your business. Obviously, you moved to a different country. You started using prep centers. Do you think the changes that you made, and some of those big changes that you made, taking yourself physically out of the UK and forcing yourself into using a prep center, do you think that you could have hit 7 figures without that move?
I think it's possible. I do. I think if you would, you wouldn't basically, you would have to distribute it equally across the year more. So, for example, you couldn't have the Q4 that I would want. Like, I wouldn't be able to do the Q4 because I physically wouldn't be able to do the volume. But if you're able to find a way to distribute it across the other months, I think you could. But obviously, but over the years somehow I've naturally just got used to being able to sell really well in Q4. Still decent the rest of the time, but I just kind of do. Even this year, I'm like, I think I can probably do 1 million in Q4. But I mean, I'm just chucking numbers there. But I'm thinking, if I did 500 grand last Q4, not 1 million, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. I wouldn't do that. I mean, there's no way I can do it myself. But if you were able to split it, but my January last year was slow, so it's my February. But obviously, if you were able to adjust the business to spread it a bit more evenly, so that obviously each month for example, I could have sent 1,000 units in last January. Well, if you're able to send in 6,000, but you're able to do that more consistently, you're not top heavying the Q4, so you're not basically having to add more hours then, but you got time off in January and February. So if you're able to do that, I think you could, to be honest.
And that would
be a lot of hours. That's the problem. It would be a lot. I mean, it'd be 10-hour days, but you could do it, and then you might add another 60 grand. So it's just kind of like how I see it. If you want an extra 60 grand, not paying prep to do it, then even just for 1 year, if that equals like worth giving it a go, then do it. If not, I mean, I thought Mac was absolutely going to get annihilated. So I kind of like.
I was going to say, could you have done it though? Because Mac was on the edge of collapse before you moved to Lithuania, didn't you? Wasn't it?
I'm in Lithuania at the moment. So I saw someone ask.
I'll ask. Yeah.
But also, actually, kind of like half the time, these decisions, I kind of just go like, whatever, I'll do. Basically, it's like a really relaxed, like 1 second thought, and I'm like, prep center, all right, done. And I might email off, and I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, all right, and I'm like, tomorrow, send. I don't really bother wasting my time too much. As long as I know I'm not like, the only problem is obviously when you have very little profit coming in, maybe 2 grand a month, you might not have hardly anything if you have a prep center. Depending on what you sell, it's very, it's not fixed for me like it is for, everyone's got different average unit costs. If they sell cheaper, it's going to be more expensive. If they sell more volume, it's more expensive. So I'm probably the worst person to have prep centers. So whereas it's 60 grand, it may only be 30 or 40 for someone who's doing higher end stuff. But there's there's a lot of unknowns. So like you could probably do 1 million if you had an average price double what I had, because that would be half the units. So there's lots of I think you could, because I think I was doing around 100 grand. I was doing like 85 the previous Q4, but I probably didn't work crazy out. I never work crazy hours, and I mean half the time I'm looking out the window at the cats, But,
Luke, me and Luke always have this joke about, I sort of like message him, or I was like, oh, are you busy? Have you got 5 minutes or whatever? He's like, yeah, I've always got 5 minutes. I'm just looking out the window watching the cats.
I literally reply, I reply everything like instantly. I'm basically waiting. I'm so bad. I literally wait. I'm like waiting for messages. Half the time all I'm doing these days is watching YouTube and learning. Like I've subscribed to a couple of specific channels to do with like certain ways to analyze stocks. That's not working, is it? I mean, like it is. I mean, for me, it's working. Do it.
Yeah, but it is.
That's so cool. Like, I'm looking at, and he's doing like options, and he's like doing covered calls, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, imagine if I say like I'm cool. So I'm getting all excited, but I mean, I'm not really doing anything, am I?
Yeah, you want to be a stockbroker now, definitely. Okay, well, I think that definitely, because I saw a couple of people made some comments there. I'm just going to see if I can find it about cash flow. And definitely managing cash flow is really hard, especially when you're trying to scale. I think it was Lindsay. So let me just read that out. Lindsay says she feels stuck. She's chasing her tail, trying to maximize replens without going out of stock during the month. And I know that that's something you talk about extensively in Elite Sellers Academy, and plug in those gaps and trying to stay in stock as much as possible in your replens. Feel like it's taking all my capital and not letting me add as many new ASINs as I'd like. Is there any advice on that?
You can either accept. I don't even know, my English has disappeared now. You can accept that it's going to take a couple of years to have enough cash to fulfill what is there. Like some people have the opposite; they have too much cash and no products. But I mean, there's always something. That I over the years, I got like a 3 grand. And not that it's just financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I got like all my only overdraft, my actual business HSBC is 3,000, and they're never giving me more, which is bizarre. Because I looked and it said I put 400 and something grand through, and like since I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I was like, that's a bit weird, but maybe there's a reason, like because of the current crisis. But I then took out, I think I've got a Capital on Tap card, so credit card, because it's cashback. So to me, anything that I can, as long as I'm, the way that I do it, or is the plan is something like, you know, yeah, so it might only be $2,000 at the beginning because it's your new account, whatever. But you can get some cash back, and as long as you pay it off, that's fine. And you could even start by saying, if you don't like debt, because a lot of people are like, no debt, no. It's like, okay, well, keep that money. Let's say you got a $2,000 limit. Keep that $2,000 in your business account for the minute, and and then obviously you're spending. So you're basically like ledgering it off, or like, you get what I mean. So you got $2,000 in your business account. Instead of spending that, you're just spending the $2,000 from the credit card, and then you're paying that off with the $2,000. So you're basically in no better position. Then you're making a bit of cash back. As in, it's all about. And then if you really want, because obviously you don't want to have too much risk as well. You know, that's not a good thing. I very like strategically will do that. I will come Q4. In theory, I'll put all my overdrafts into my. But this is just the way I do it, into the Amazon business for literally 3 or 4 weeks, from the end of November when it really goes mental, and like I kind of have it, you know, only till maybe like the 15th or 16th, or maybe just a little bit before November. But I do it very. So if I'm going to take any risk in terms of getting extra capital, it's very short, rather than like having, I don't know, gazillion loans. Some people might have them where it's like all the time, and then, you know, what happens if your Amazon account goes or something, then you have to take it. I mean, for me, it was a gradual thing. It was like, I got a £1,000 credit card, and I was like, okay, let's see how this goes, you know, because I know that in theory I could just pay it off with my own. I could pay it off with my overdraft or something if I wanted, and then just pay like, I don't know, £5 a month. Well, you know, it was like within acceptable parameters for me to do that. Then like I got a £1,000 Amazon loan, I think it started off as. And then I preferred that because it was with the platform there, and I wanted to make sure. Basically, no one knows exactly how it works, but I was like, you know what? If they're offering it to me and I take it, then there's a little bit more of like a, not that your account's in a better stead, or is that the right word? But it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's more protected, and I don't care what anyone says. I absolutely believe, and I've seen quite a lot of evidence of this over the last month since Q4, that if you have Amazon loans and you have extensive Amazon loans, that you get your account back quicker in a suspension situation. So it was always a rumor, and it's still a rumor now. I still don't have any I have hard evidence in the sense that I've seen it on people's accounts. But it always kind of made sense that if they owe you money, yes, they've got the value of stock, and yes, they can liquidate that stock, but it's a really long process for suspension before they can physically take your stock. So I think providing you can supply the relevant document, they don't fanny around with suspensions with people that have higher level loans, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not telling anyone, again, no financial advice, don't go out and take a 30 grand loan with Amazon just because Natalie says, oh, you won't get suspended or you'll get your account back quicker. It just makes sense that you're gonna get your account back quicker because you owe them money. That's
and over the year, and even if you just like, because the way that I also see it is that I didn't want all that risk, but if I have it, I have options. I don't have to use it. That's more not like not the Amazon loan, for example, because you actually have to pay interest, but that's their credit card. You don't have to use the card, but if you've got it and you do the calculations at some point and go, yeah, the risk is, you know, whatever the answer you need to find. If you can't find the answer, you don't use it. But if you can, and then those, you know, for example, those limits go up and up and up, I don't have to use it. But I know, like with the Capital on Tap, I think I got 32,000 on that. And it only went up recently, but looking at the current, so all the money, you know, that equivalent money is in my business account, because obviously I 32 take a while to burn through that. And I've now got like 350 quid accrued just for 1 month's cash back. Well, that's like four. I don't know how much. The month hasn't finished yet, but I don't know how much that will actually get to. So if you can get to that as well, that's like 4 grand. That's more than that's like 5 grand each, whatever it ends up being. And so it's like, it's yeah, that takes time, but in my eyes, it's those things do take time, and you can be like, oh, sorry, I've got 50 grand in the bank. That's my own money. That's whack it in. And then you basically fast track it. But, who knows? Are the products you're buying, you got a lot of confidence in that not one of them's going to have problems. So like with me, I purposely have only said probably like 8% of the products I probably ever sold. And not that I couldn't sell the old products I've sold. I probably could, but I almost want to find reasons to not sell them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. Like any excuse, I'll be like, no, I'm not selling that. I'm not selling that, even though nothing's wrong with it now, and I've been selling it for years. It's kind of like that, but I don't need, and because it's so diversified, the product range that I've got, and I know how to find more. I'm not reliant on a specific brand, even a brand. So like even now with IKEA, there's been a couple of people saying that there's issues with it. But even that, I'm like, no, don't worry, cancel the orders. Don't need to sell my 800 units for this. Like even if it goes down a little bit, my sales, I'll just figure it out this month. And I don't. And it's more about
something else.
Again, I forgot what we were even talking about. Get caught up.
That's fine. Some people have asked with regards to wholesale grocery best before dates. Dion asked it, and also did Christos. How do you deal with the fact with short dated stuff from the wholesalers? Christos says he gets put off sometimes from ordering massive quantities with certain savoury snacks, as the expiry dates have been really inconsistent.
Well, so did it say that? Because the wholesalers that not all of them, the one that I really go to all the time always tells you the expiry dates for the batch, so I can go just quickly glance it and be like 6 months, fine. If it's like 3, if it's 3, I probably won't get it because it take a while to actually get it and go in, and then it'll probably get chucked into instant expiry. But I'll probably just work with that, or I'll look other places. Like I literally just look. So I'm trying to build up a bit of suppliers, so that I can find the same products, but on all of them. But some of them have different prices. Some might be better for expiry, for longer expiries. So I can sort of pick and mix. Don't know what to ask, but
that's intended. Some of our wholesalers, I think, from our point of view, some of our wholesalers that are in the grocery category, what we do is before we place an order, we just ring up and we either place a physical phone order with some of them. We're a little bit old school, so you can do that. Or we just ring them up and say, look, I'm just about to place a £4,000 order. I would prefer the stock to have slightly longer dates if it's possible. They all say, yeah, no problem. Whether they actually do something, I don't know, but at least we're being a little bit proactive about it. That's the way that I see it. So it's not a lot you can do, to be perfectly honest. The only thing you can do, if they send you a pro forma, if you're ordering via email, just, a little bit of communication back to them just to say, if it's possible, can we have the longest dates? There is a wholesaler that we click and collect from, actually, in the relative local vicinity. So this isn't going to work for everyone, but if it's like what I call a retail wholesaler, which is a wholesaler that you just sign up to online and you can just kind of get instant access, always check if they've got a collection point and got a collection point near you. So we've got one about 15 miles away from us, something like that. So we actually do click and collect. And we pick the stuff up because we did have some issue with expiry dates. And then when we're there, we just give it a quick physical check over and they'll just swap out anything for us. But I appreciate that's not going to suit everyone, of course.
Or you can just, because I was talking to you about this the other day? I was like, because I gave my mum last year £2,000 worth of chocolate. So she got boxes and stuff. And she was like, I don't know, she's probably, dying or something because there's so much chocolate. But like I was like, but if I, let's say that I go to 5 million at some turnover at some point, that could be like 30 grand a year of stock that's just expiring, because obviously you've got to buy the quantities not knowing which ones are going to sell out is what it is. So if you're betting against them all because you're not sure which ones are going to be your best and which ones are going to be the worst, but you have to go all in obviously within reason on all of them. Because if you pick and choose, you might end up finding the ones you are picking and choosing don't work, or it's more about the collective creation. It creates X profit, but it doesn't really matter where the bad ones come from. But if it's like 30 grand, I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with 30 grand worth of stuff? I can't keep giving it to my mum.
Yeah.
And I was like, and she ended up just walking back to the post office and giving it to the people buying the post office, like, you know, because she knew what it was.
The bigger you get, you have to come up with more creative solutions. I mean, obviously, part of the reason we introduced Matthew Wright to the group with eBay is there's options there. There's also options through your own website and things like that. I think the bigger you get, and obviously you are quite a strategic person in the way that you look at things, I think no doubt you will have to come up with something, because like you said, pardon?
A couple of ideas. What I told you about was like either selling it to one of those out of date or best before companies, and actually you can sell to them. Just go on the website, or starting your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Specific. Whatever's there, like it's literally just ran. But people would buy it if it's like literally you're looking to not eat, because instead of losing 30 grand, you might only lose 15.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're still losing money, so it's going to be cheap for them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're going to buy bottles and Nando's hots or maybe.
Yeah, I know you miss your Nando's. But I don't think anyone, most people do not have an issue with buying out of date food. So I think there's definitely a creative solution there. And maybe we'll come up with some sort of collected.
Or you can sell them in like batch, like batches of, I don't know.
Batches them off. But there's a wholesale company, like a place that you go down to near me on one of the local industrial estates, and the guy's he's just got a warehouse full of out of date stuff, and he does loads of like Facebook videos and things like that, saying, yeah, we got 12 pallets of year out of date Quaver crisps in today. Who's going to come down and get them? He's a bit of like a Del Boy kind of thing. He's really popular in the local area on social media. So Luke, you're going to have to move back, and there you go. You can open your own out of date warehouse. Out of date.
You have to sell it. And you mean best before? You can't mean out of date.
Best before. Yeah, that's it. Do you know what? Interesting fact, actually, it might not be that interesting. It was actually Marks and Spencer's, St. Michael's Food, that actually came up with the best before date. I remember hearing that fact years ago, and I just remember retaining that fact, and it was to do with something that didn't have best before dates before before Marks and Spencer's came up with the best before date, or sold by date, or used by date, or whatever. But they don't really mean anything, unless it's like meat or poultry.
I always eat things like I don't look at the date. I'll open it and I'll
sniff it. Sniff it, absolutely. Sean says going to need some staff doing a minimum of 200 grand a month. This is about the seller that we've got coming on in a couple of weeks. I actually think he's not based in the US either, so I think it's all prep centers as far as I understand. Let's just go through and catch up on the comments a little bit. Christos says he does 2 hours research a day on YouTube.
I basically watch it every hour.
Yeah,
like the whole day. I'm doing stuff as well, but I'm not really. I mean, I'm doing some stuff, but.
Abu's got an interesting question, actually, and if anyone will know the answer, you'll know the answer to this. How much cash do you think you'll need to buy stock to make a 7-figure Q4?
Just a 7-figure Q4, I think it would only be maybe 100 grand.
Really?
Because like I could put 100 grand in, and it depends what month, because like where I was doing that 22 grand a day, that's if let's say it takes 5 days, so within 10 days you basically got your 100 grand back.
But
obviously that would dilute back if you're going backwards into October and stuff. It wouldn't be as much. So basically you want to be buying 500 grand over 3 months to do about $1 million. I mean, it might be a bit more, but do it less. So we're just going on that end. Sorry?
There's a lot of factors to take into account: how quickly you get stock in, how fast you're selling this.
Yeah, my disbursements are daily. I can get it. My stuff's fast selling, so I can probably put in 100 grand at the beginning of October, and that's now 200 grand by the end of the month. Then 200 grand, I can probably spend another 150. That's 350 by the end of November, and then another 150. I've then spent 500,000, but only from 100,000, and then. So, I mean, technically you had a 500k Q4, so you would need to double. Do you know how many units that was? Can you remember how many units you sold in Q4? Was it like 42,000? Am I making that up or something? I have a feeling it was something high like that.
Yeah. So I mean, effectively, you'd need to double the units, or you would need to probably 50% the units, but then obviously go for a higher ROI and
what I'd probably do is I would be proactively buying only pallets for nearly everything. And yeah, that's only a 10p saving per ASIN. But if you're selling 45, well, it would be double that, 90,000 units, 10p saving. What would that be? 9 grand? But like, obviously, your sales for the cot, so your buy price would be less, so you'd be making more sales for less money.
Yeah, there's obviously sales that we're talking about here. But I know it was a point I remember you saying a few weeks ago, actually, that because when we've talked about on like ESA, my average selling price is like closer to £30 because I tend to sell a lot of bundles and things like that, which obviously have higher selling prices than some of Luke's stuff. And what you've said, which is absolutely right, the higher the cost of the purchase of the goods is, you have to have more cash flow, obviously, to be able to do that, because your average cost that you're buying stuff of is presumably at least 50% of the cost of your average selling price, which is around £10-11, something like that.
Yeah, my average buy price must be like £5.50 or £6.
Yeah, so if
much does that be? Hang on, let's do a calculation. £6 per unit on average.
There we go, live calculations, guys, working this out as we go along. But I think
I'd rather check than just blindly shout out numbers. But they're saying I'd have to spend 270 grand to do what I did. But that would be it. That would.
You probably did. You probably did.
Oh, no, sorry, that wouldn't be the cash. Yeah, because if you double that, that would be. It wouldn't be exactly double. Wouldn't be the sales I had, but it's not far off. Well, yeah, it's like 40 grand off. So if you double that, it'd be 540,000. I did 500, so that's about right. So, but then that obviously that wouldn't be what I spent. I probably spent 80, maybe. Maybe, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Can you make sure this year that you document that and let us know, please?
I guess all I can really do is just look all the outflows. Oh, I don't know. I can have a think about it.
Have a think and let us know next time you're on. Philip says he took the loans out, so I owe them more money than they have access to my stock if they were ever suspended. And I think it's I think it's a sensible thing to do. Like I said, it's not financial advice or anything like that, obviously. But it just makes sense to me on the suspension side of things. If you owe them more than they owe you, then they're going to get you back in business quicker. That's the way I see it. So Craig's asked, obviously no financial advice given. How have you financed your business over the last few years? Because one thing I did want to add, for anyone that's new and watching as well, we don't want to make it out like Luke just started a year ago and now he's done £1 million in the last year. This is like your 5th year of selling on Amazon.
Ultimately, I wouldn't have taken the debt that I have, not all the time, but strategically, if I hadn't already, basically, I wasn't like nearly 100% confident what I was already doing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to go and just get a 38 grand in chocolates, are you? Like, if it was I just do that now. Like, really, I basically I just see it as fake money. It's kind of how I see it. But that's how I don't care about the values that I'm spending, kind of thing. Because I know, and that's also the reason I've sort of secured up the products that I'm selling as much as I can. No one knows for sure, because I wouldn't ever be able to scale without being sure about what I'm selling, and that's why the way I've gone about the products I sell and everything is specific, rather than because I need to be so sure of what I'm selling, because obviously scaling. But then I think the biggest one for everybody would have been the bounce back loan. Actually, I forgot about that. That would have been the biggest one. So if anyone got that would have been a game changer pretty much for everybody. I mean, within reason. I think the biggest sellers maybe wouldn't have seen it as much of a game changer, but anyone that was below $1 million, would have.
I think it helped propel a lot of people's businesses this year, and you had to be in the right place at the right time. Obviously, things were already going well in your business before that opportunity came along, but thank you for being honest about that. And I think there's not a lot of sellers out there that are honest about that, saying that they took the bounce back loan and that did really help their business. But I know a good handful of sellers that are in similar position to yourself. And probably one of those factors is obviously the bounce back loan. But needless to say, Luke would have got to this point. It's just he's got
done it this year. It would have been like, instead of hitting that million, it was a little bit after last year. But it was by the end of this year. So but it was still everything was still there. But again, like we were talking about the capital, I probably would have found Q4 harder. I wouldn't have done what I'd done because I wouldn't have had that capital, that cash flow to basically make sure I was able to buy every day what I wanted to buy. I wouldn't have been able to do that. It might have been every other day or something.
Yeah. I love this question from Tom, actually. This is a really cool question, and then we'll move on and talk about something else. What is more important when trying to reach 7 figures? Is it time and patience, or is it hustle and graft? Well, we know he sits watching out the window looking at cats, so we know.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. I don't basically like everyone says, "Oh, you must be so hardworking" and all this kind of thing. And like my girlfriend basically always said, and my ex flatmate, like my mate,
the one that used to tell us off all the time.
Him, Richard. He used to say, "Do you actually do anything, Luke?" And my girlfriend now starting to say that as well because she sees what I do all day, and I'm basically just looking at charts and watching YouTube videos and like sitting with the dog, giving it a bit, and as in, so like but I've been doing that for a while, I guess, but because I already, I don't know, but obviously that's now I'm 5 years in, but like for the first 2 years, to be honest, I started with secondhand stuff, so that was completely different. It was more about building that, and then when I was doing online arbitrage, it was disgracefully difficult. Like it was literally like I was scraping through for like a year, maybe a year and a bit. And that's where I then, because I was literally just sourcing products day to day, and then it was more about like figuring out what didn't work. Actually, that was the most important thing. Basically trying everything and not really making any money because you're trying everything. So the cost, you're not making that much profit because you're actually paying for different things to try to figure out basically it's like walking around in a blind room. You want to find the wall. Now there's a wall there, and you want to find every bit. Where's the light? and eventually you're like, well, I can see because you've touched and you've remembered everything that can possibly where everything is that you in theory can see, and then that kind of is the best thing. And then once I got to that point, and then I started improving what I knew was the only way I could, and then sort of. But it took many. It was more about the time. Also understanding that it wasn't just the time, because I know people that do it for years and they're just doing the same thing, which is deal sheets or VAs, and that you can make some money, but it's like not going to be. I don't think you can really make like 30 grand in a month for but maybe if you chucked in $1 million or 2 million, then that isn't so much. But no one's really going to do that. I mean, maybe 1-2 people could, but most people sort of who chuck maybe like 10 grand in or something over a year. I don't think you can. I don't know. It's very hard because I've always seen things differently. That's the problem. I've always seen things differently. Even like I talk the way I talk now, I've always talked like that, even though I wasn't doing what I was talking about. Like it hadn't reflected in my life. So, and a lot of people never talk like that. Always wonder, you're a bit weird. Why do you talk like that? Why do you say those weird things? Because you're not doing it. But like I knew I was doing it. So when I see things, it's normally not the same as everyone else. So it's very difficult to say if it's multiple things. And also I'm quite like relaxed. So where I was in a lot of debt when I was younger, and then I don't own really any assets myself. So I'm like, and like I've sort of like done all the bad things, if you get what I mean. So I'm kind of like, I know what happened. I kind of understand it. So now I'm like, if I end up going bankrupt, this is how I see it. If I went bankrupt, what I want, have all the assets, not with me. So I don't own the assets. So whatever, if I go bankrupt, that's kind of how not that I'm going to ever, that may not be the way I go. But at the moment I don't really own anything. So if something happened, I don't own anything to give. So and I see that as fine because, like I had a bad credit rating for years. I know we're going off a bit, but and then I've still got like given all with the business, even though I've got a cosign, I still got given like 32 grand credit card. I'm like, well, have you seen my credit rating? As in, but I've had all these experiences which have kind of geared me up in different areas. But again going back to it, excluding that, that's to say, time and trialing everything. And try not to do what everyone else is doing. That's the easiest. There's a million things, but that's the 3 that I'd say.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. I think it's down to time and knowing, your business model and the type of business model that you do. That you are definitely someone that trials. you're a trial and error person. So you try it. If it doesn't work, you scrap it. If it does work, then what you'll do is you'll continue on with it. But Luke doesn't just continue on with it. You'll revise it and you'll refine it until you make it so you maximize that particular way of doing it as much as possible. And that's
also what I kind of trusted in it. A lot of people use their emotion to change their decision because they're like, oh no, but I don't want to do that. I'm like, 10 grand on. As in, I kind of, because like we're all going to die eventually anyway, so it doesn't really matter what happens. As in, before you know it, I'm going to be dead. So,
or on Mars.
You know, well, I'll be on Mars.
But that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, a couple of people saying there, Rachel and Phil were saying, oh, obviously, you know, we're weird. That's why we're all online. And that's why we have communities like this. So like-minded people. So yeah, we're all weird. We're all weird because we're all like-minded people in the same place at the same time. So thanks for that, Tom. So I think that was a really cool question. So I think it does take something special. And you are doing things different to everyone.
I did hustle when I had to do RA. Because obviously I had to get more money and RA has more profits. And I was doing massive trips. I was going out for I was staying overnight on the weekend. Mm-hmm. So I was like doing the normal day-to-day things and then actually it's quite fun. Going to like Milton Keynes and staying in Hilton, £1 a night. For me, that was fancy. Well, it was DoubleTree.
No, I think it's cool. A DoubleTree, that's pretty cool. Yeah, DoubleTree Hilton, nice. John's asked on YouTube, do you ever go? Yours probably not going to be no. This is probably not going to be a no to Luke, but do you ever go weeks without finding a single product to sell, or is it just him due to being an amateur? I think that's a very common thing when people start out, and I'll just offer my 2 cents on this in the sense one of the most common phrases I always say to people when they start out, that Amazon's a little bit of a case of you don't know it works until you know it works. And as soon as you know it works, that's when you start seeing more opportunities. Obviously, with regards to having a relatively new account, if you're just starting out, then you're not going to have as much opportunity as people with older accounts who are ungated in more categories and things like that. So what I would say is, yes, it's not uncommon for people who are starting out, but have a look at your kind of habits. If you are going weeks without finding products, then you need to look at what you're doing within the time that you're sourcing. I would say for anyone that does their own manual sourcing or anything like that, then definitely don't spend more than a couple of hours sourcing at any one time. If I hear people saying, oh, I was sourcing for 8 hours and I didn't find anything and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I say, why are you sourcing for 8 hours? If you don't find anything after an hour, the more you get frustrated, the more it's going to lead to you missing opportunity. But manual sourcing is all about knowing what to look for, which rabbit holes to go down, exploring every single opportunity. Luke and I did a live sourcing session in Elite Sellers Academy a few weeks ago, and we were talking through whilst we were doing it, obviously, but we both said, and anyone that was watching, you know, it was quite obvious to see. Luke and I probably in that sourcing session on our own would have walked away with about 12 to 16 products, something like that, because we know that this model works and we know what we're looking for. So just start out looking for inspiration around the home, I would say, for the type of brands to search for. But also, if you are really struggling, have a look at something like onlinearbitragedeals.com. What it does do is I always see these, services, and the services I recommend is Karen's, because obviously it's the one that I trust, that I know it's, for me, it's the best service out there. What I would say is, get a service like that so you can look at the type of deals people are sourcing, where they're being sourced from, what type of products. It's really a lead service. That's the way I would recommend. And I know that that's something you still do occasionally, probably not recently, have you, Luke, about whereas if you feel you run out of ideas or something like that.
I don't even really know. I don't, it's no originality. Like, I don't look for ideas myself. I mean, basically, if you want to, I got that video that I still did years ago is like the best one because half of them are still applicable. It's like on my channel, the Mr. FBA It's called like 10 ways to sort profitable products. Mm-hmm. Just watch that. and some of them might be old, but some of them are still applicable, and start there.
Well, sourcing doesn't really change.
It's more like, you know, some of the softwares I may have used or something might be great now. I can't remember what maybe I even used FBA Wizard at the time. So I'm not sure what I even used on those methods.
Definitely. We were talking about some sourcing software the other day, actually, and we were talking about FBA Wizard and where it's gone and what's happened to it, and the guy's like disappeared off the face of the earth. And because he was really like prevalent in all the Facebook groups when I first started selling on Amazon. So it's something, yeah, it's just really weird that he's disappeared off the face of the earth. So John, have a look at that video that Luke refers to, but don't get stressed out with it. If you don't find anything after a period of an hour and a half, possibly 2 hours, stop and start again the next day.
Probably refine your parameters, as in what is your buy price? Sorry, what is your profit price? What is your buy price? What are you? Because that's probably the problem. Well, it can be the problem.
Here's an interesting question. If you've got someone like John, Luke, because I actually think this is quite a good idea. Would you recommend, just to get into the habit of being able to identify things, not sourcing stuff to sell it at a loss, but in order to check out the processes and things like that? And would you recommend that people just sort of reduce their parameters down just to get into the habit?
People aren't VAT registered, because obviously when you become VAT registered, a lot of things we're going to pay more money. But if you're not VAT registered, which I guess you're not because you're new, then look for profits of around like £1 to £2. But then just look for ones that sell more. So instead of looking for £4 profit that sells 10, look for something that does 20 sales at £2 profit, as in you're making the same amount. You don't have to start, you might not want to start with buying 20 units, so you might start with 5, and over the months you might be able to sell them again and again. And where you're looking at lower profits, it means it's probably it's basically less people are going to buy it because the low. If you're going to get a penny profit, this is the theory. If you've got £1 billion, but you're only taking a penny profit, who's going to be doing that?
Oh, I don't know, Luke. I've seen some sellers out there doing that.
As in, like, across every product consistently, year in, year out. Almost zero, probably no, not zero, because there's probably someone that does that. Maybe not billions, maybe like 10 million or something. But you're able to make, I don't know, 100 grand a year because you've got 10 million and you're making a penny or like 5p profit. As in, you're basically figuring a way to make the money you want with what you've got. It doesn't happen overnight. It could take years, but you know that's a way. And then you'll slowly start. I might have started with £3 and I went to 2 because I could buy enough products to actually still get the same profit overall, but at a lower. And then it was just more about tweaking that to a point where the profit figure that you get in the month with the products is still what you want, but the profits in those specific products are lower, but you're just selling more of them. Kind of thing.
Absolutely. John says very helpful. Thanks for that. I think that's a really great idea.
You just go to the Mr. FBA UK, type it in YouTube, have like a logo with my little tiny face, real microscopic, but you'll see me.
Like pop kind of thing, something like that.
Yeah, and then it's one of my top videos. Like I think it gives you an option to see like the top ones, and it's called 10 ways to source profitable products. I think something like that.
Cool. Yeah. Have a look at ungating. Probably the first one you want to have a look at.
Yeah, I would always say get ungated as soon as you can these days.
Yeah, definitely have a look at grocery. Harrison's Direct. I think it's the old Swizzle Sweets or Haribo or something like that. You can get ungated now for like 30, 40 quid. It's ridiculous. And then you can eat all the sweets afterwards. So it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. So Philip says if you're starting out, you need to use some software like Source Mogul to get a taste for what you're looking for. Use your iPhone on a website using the Amazon app. You need to learn the process. So I think Philip's in agreement. Refine those parameters. Just get into the habit of doing stuff. The more that you see the process, the more that you see the back end process of it working and you making those sales, I guarantee you it's like a light bulb switching on that you just literally, right, okay, this is how it works. And then automatically, because your mind is thinking like that, then what happens is you start seeing more opportunity, and you see more opportunity absolutely everywhere. Dion's asked, do you use one prep center or several? I think you use a couple, don't you? And pallets as well.
Yeah, I have 2 prep centers, and I actually started to pay for a full-time staff member in someone's warehouse that I know and rent some of their warehouse space.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically I'm sending stuff to 3 places at the moment.
By the way, you know, I do encourage multiple prep centers at the end of the day, because everyone has different processing times. There are different places within the country, so therefore some stocks will get in quicker than others. I also recommend that you send all your bundles to one type of prep center and your oversized units to another type of prep center, if you've got the management processes in place to be able to do that. But, you know, no one says you have to use just the one prep center. A lot of the big sellers I know do use about 2 or 3, because it splits the odds as well. Sean says he's got personal assets that he's worked hard and sacrificed. If he took an Amazon loan and got suspended, they personally come for me. And my stuff is, if you're not a limited company.
Yeah, the Amazon loans these days are personal guaranteed, aren't they?
Are they? I'm not aware. But if you have a limited company, then no, they can't come after you unless it's got a personal guarantee.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, unless it's got a personal guarantee. Absolutely. Right. Okay. So, I mean, it's 8 o'clock, but very quickly before we go, we spent all the time talking about Luke. Oh, dear. No, I'm only joking. It's such a good subject. And to be honest, to be able to discuss it with you live as it's happened, essentially, I think has been really, really valuable for everyone. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about seasonality before we go as well, because we've just come through a little bit of a seasonal period with Valentine's Day and also Pancake Day as well. Believe it or not, that's quite a busy searched for, especially this year with people not being able to get out to the shops and things like that. But it's really just to look in and look at the opportunity of being able to source on a seasonal basis. Now, I know with the loss of toys and the loss of Europe, so people are really feeling, some losses in their business at the moment. And really what I wanted to kind of say is, obviously, if you're selling grocery, if you're selling health and personal care, if you're selling toys and things like that, they're generally evergreen products. Of course, toys increase 6-fold over the Christmas period and things like that, but they generally sell all year round. So what I want everyone to kind of consider moving forward, and this is what works really well, which we're teaching in ESA at the moment, which is the unique bundle. By the way, guys, I will just give it a quick plug. We are teaching my unique bundle training at the moment, which has been phenomenally successful for the people that have undergone that. If anyone saw my post today, you saw people like Susan Hogan. She's going to be on track for doing 7 figures, and she took my bundle course a year ago. Simona, Cindy, people like that who are changing their businesses and heading more towards adding unique bundles into their business for a number of different reasons. You get to control your listing. You get to diversify, you get to look at different categories that you wouldn't ordinarily sell with. But at the moment, we are doing that in Elite Sellers Academy. So if you do want to get involved in Elite Sellers Academy, the deadline is Thursday. We are going to be closing the doors whilst we finish the training, which is going to last about 6 to 8 weeks, where we really dive deep. And people have sort of said, oh, why is it 6 to 8 weeks? Why does that take so long? Because it is essentially, poor man's private label. We are learning pretty much everything that we would learn from a private label point of view. So that's why it takes so long. And anyone that knows me and anyone that knows my training knows the level of depth that I go into on my training. It's not just, put a few things together, give them a barcode and whack them on Amazon. I don't teach like that. I teach to the absolute, in depth of everything. So when you guys that have joined us for ESA for the bundle training, when you come out at the back of the end of that, if you ever want to progress into private label at any point in your business, you're going to be able to do that, because it's pretty much, that's the process that I teach people for the unique bundles. Oh, I was out of breath then. But yeah, sorry. So if you do want to join, please join before Thursday, because I guarantee we will not let anyone in after that date for a certain period of time. But by being able to sell those type of products and being able to, we've just sent, I think this week or something like that, we just sent 2,500 units in just purely for Easter goods at the moment. We're not going to sell them beyond Easter. We might sell a few different things like that, but we tend to sell and do really well in the seasonal area. Now, Luke, obviously, you're quite...
I'm trying to get into the old Easter eggs a little more this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because actually, I only really got into Easter, like what are they called, Advent calendars. Media. I touched them not last year, the year before, and I went mediumly into it, or moderately, and then Easter, the chocolates did well, but I didn't really sell Easter eggs, and I was like, well, maybe I need to focus, because it's got Mother's Day around there. I don't even know when that is.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my point. So I'm all about stacking seasonal goods. This is my biggest tip, especially when it comes to bundles and things like that. Whenever I design a new bundle to send in, it will always take into account, it will be seasonal and my mind will be seasonal. So we will go after a main season, but it won't be so seasonal that it couldn't be picked up if we were going to be left with other stock. So obviously you were talking about Easter egg and Advent calendar, which are two of the biggest seasonal products that you can purchase to sell on Amazon, but they're incredibly seasonal within the niche that they are, because obviously you're not going to sell too many Advent calendars outside of November and December. We've all been there. We've all sold an I've sold Advent calendars in July and things like that. So it does happen, but obviously not to the extent that it does happen. But the type of holidays that I'm talking about, and I would say two of the biggest seasonal holidays on Amazon are Easter and Christmas, definitely without a doubt. But it's taken into account all of the little seasonal holidays, but not just all of the occasions, but also seasonality that we're coming into as well. One of the biggest selling areas on Amazon that hardly any arbitragers look at all is garden and home and kitchen. And home and kitchen is the busiest selling category apart from books on Amazon. It's absolutely crazy what you can sell, not only from a reseller point of view, but also creating your own opportunities and looking at unique bundles point of view. And I always think seasonality wise, home and kitchen and garden and outdoor are coming into that seasonality now, where as we come out at the back end of winter, going into spring and in summer, and I could probably reel off a dozen different types of niches that you can look into in that area. And especially now, taking into account, obviously, we're still going to be in some sort of lockdown situation. Hopefully, it's going to be a little bit lighter, but hopefully we can get into a position where we're going to be able to entertain a few people within our homes or within our gardens. So my creative kind of mind is already thinking, okay, well, I need to put together a lockdown kit for people over the summer, things like that, for birthday parties or for garden parties or for barbecues, because we are going to be spending a lot more time at home this year. And people are going to be looking, you know, to throw those type of things. I've just recently, I'm helping a company get on Amazon at the moment that don't sell on Amazon, and they sell a lot of birthday packages and things like that. And if you can get into these type of niches on Amazon, the sales, I know some of the sales that you experience, Luke, are absolutely crazy, but they will literally blow your mind with the amount of sales that these type of people with these type of niches and businesses, and they don't just sell on Amazon. I see Matthew Wright's joined us. They sell on eBay, they sell on Etsy, and they sell on all these different platforms. But it all comes and it all starts with looking at selling on Amazon, starting on arbitrage, and moving into the type of stuff that we are teaching through ESA. It's not side hustle stuff in there anymore. It's about building a brand, looking at different opportunities, looking at different seasons, and catering towards that demand on the platform.
Sounds good.
Deep breath after that. But let me know in the comments, obviously, if anyone does want the link to join Elite Sellers. I know Andre says stuck in analysis paralysis, too many choices. Absolutely. But, you know, take small steps, just one step at a time. Set yourself a challenge, guys. If you are one of the 1% of Amazon that just sells in grocery, health and personal care, toys, and possibly pet. I mean, not a lot of people. It's only the last year or 18 months, I think more people have started selling in pet. That wasn't even a thing a year or so ago. Maybe a little bit longer than that, something like that. But set yourself a little bit of a challenge. Once a month, try and break into a different category. Go onto Google, type in top 100 selling categories on Amazon, and it will come up with a page where you can scroll down on the left-hand side and you can niche down into all the different categories, and it will show you all the top sellers in those categories. And that will give you lots of inspiration to be able to look in the different types of categories for the different types of products that people are selling.
Well, I'm in it. I get to experience it anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, Luke gets to experience it every week as well. So Matthew says eBay. Absolutely. Just got a little laughy face there. Right. So I think we're kind of spent and talked out. So which is we'll last about an hour anyway as well. So thank you everyone for watching. Oh, Matthew said 7 figures in just one category, 100% possible. Absolutely. I think we're creatures of habit and we tend to stick, but I do want people to be able to diversify and look at different areas and things as much as possible, because variety is the spice of life after all. I just wanted to say quickly before we go, next week, this is going to be a real one for the diary. But put a date in the diary for next Tuesday for Never Mind the Buy Box. I've got a chap coming on from a European accountancy firm that's going to be joining me next week. So some of you may have spoken to this company in the past. A guy called Tom is going to be coming on from the company of Ask, which is a Amazon European accountancy provider. So these are the people that would deal with your VAT registration in the different European countries. So what he's going to come on and do, because obviously with the loss of Europe and people are asking the question, is selling in Europe going to be right for me moving forward? And do I want to go ahead with the VAT registration and everything like that? So I thought it would be good to reach out to Tom, and he's an absolute expert in his field, to be able to get him on Never Mind the Buy Box and come and talk to you all about the processes, what's going on in Europe at the moment, what's going on in the borders at the moment, what the likelihood is and what Amazon's going to be doing moving forward, and all these different types of things. Because obviously I know for a lot of you that selling in Europe is something that you are truly missing at the moment, especially all the opportunity there. So please join us next Tuesday at 7:00, and Tom's going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking all about selling in Europe and what the processes are there, which should be interesting.
I always watch these, but I don't watch them at night because I'm 2 hours ahead. I always catch them back in the daytime. So that it's one of my 2 hours or 1 hour of my YouTube that I can't watch, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's something you should definitely be considering. I know you're not actually in Europe, but you're not in the UK. So
yeah,
I know I know what you mean.
I've glimpsed the thought now and then,
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's something, I think it's quite interesting. And I think we're definitely creatures of habit. And the only reason we don't tend to do things is because we don't really know about them. It's part of the reason why one of my big goals this year was to start selling in the US, because this group, there's so many Americans that sell in the UK, but it doesn't seem to be so much going the other way. So what I wanted to be able to do is debunk some of the myths about selling in the US. And hopefully with speaking to Tom, we can do that a little bit with Europe next week. I don't know if it's still going to be feasible. It's probably not for a lot of arbitragers. But definitely if you're going to be someone that's looking at definitely the more wholesale model, then yeah, there's definitely going to be opportunity moving forward for people. And once the borders are sorted out and everything like that, fingers crossed. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Luke says, sorry, no, you're Luke. Matthew says you need to get a prep center and a customs clearance open.
Well, I've been looking at starting a business here and doing that kind of thing, and then that would be a European entity. And but I'm waiting for this e-residency thing. where you can create digital companies like Estonia has. Rolling out this month or something, because it's a lot cheaper than starting a UAB or whatever they have here, which is the limited company version. It costs like 5,000 or something stupid. But it probably doesn't. But I would end up paying that because I exactly know what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, let's give a big thumbs up and a big like and a love if you want Luke to start a European prep center to help us all out so we can start selling in the EU moving forward.
I don't think it. Wow, yeah. And then like going to like it'd be going all the way from England all the way to Lithuania and then all the way back to France.
Absolutely. You got a couple of likes and hearts there, definitely. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. And Luke, honestly, massive congratulations. You've hit a real milestone in your business, and I've got no doubts whatsoever that this time next year, I know someone said it earlier, this time, Rodders, this time next year, we'll be talking about multiple 7 figures, hopefully within your business, not or double 7 figures, multiple 7 figures.
I don't like that saying double because I'm like, you're trying to hide. It makes me sound like you're trying to hide it or make it sound better than it is. That's how I perceive that sound.
No, that's the way I say it. Double, multiple 7 figures. I don't know. It's just the way I say it. But yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. No one deserves it more than you, genuinely, and you've worked hard-ish to to get to that point. I'm just messing. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'll see everyone in Matthew's training tomorrow night, and then obviously I will see the rest of you for the continuation of the bundle training or in ESA on Thursday night. If you want to join before, please let us know, because we're going to be really strict from Thursday. We're not going to be letting anyone else in, and it's going to be real opportunity for people. So thanks very much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week, and I'll see you with the Avast guy so we can talk Europe next week. Thanks for joining, Luke.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.